See, it wasn't really about the piano lessons, right? I didn't say to her, you know, I'd really love to connect with you one-on-one. I see you're struggling. Can we have something? No. She was 9 years old. But I knew that I could do something that I knew, music, to be a vehicle for her to be able to build something that would serve her way more than just in my music classroom. The confidence to know she's not a bad kid. She just was in a bad situation, right? I credit my students for helping me to learn this lesson. I definitely didn't know it when I became a music teacher. I know that teaching music, it's not about teaching music. It's not about the notes or our choirs winning awards. It's about who our students become because they are learning music. That's where our focus needs to be. How can we use music as a vehicle for those things and not just trying to teach the correct notes, getting them to behave and comply with our directions? That's not what we're after. We want kids that can go out into the global society and compete, be worthwhile citizens, right? How can we do that in our music classrooms, using all the skills and tools that we know that music is so wonderful at creating for them? And so, as we think about this last one, I'm going to ask you to help me with this last little piece. I want you to think about how can I use music more as a vehicle? And so, I know I often talk about culturally responsive teaching with music educators. A lot of times, even non-music educators, we always go to, well, how can I find a cultural piece, a diverse piece of music? But you'll notice I'm talking about joy and culturally responsive teaching, other than that little for release anecdote. We have not talked about repertoire at all, because it's not about the repertoire. Culturally responsive teaching is about how we understand our learners deep enough to use those as assets and drivers to the curriculum and the instruction. In fact, that's how I define culturally responsive music education. How can I leverage the prior experiences, knowledge, and interests of my learners? That's their culture, right? You know that. It's not about race and ethnicity. That's all the perspectives that make them who they are. Literally, how do they see the world? All of those things. How can we work in partnership with our students to create that sense of belonging? Not where I'm doing music to them, but we're doing it together as partners. How can I engage them in relevant, real-world context of making music? Not sometimes things that we do in our music class that only matters in music, but really relevant things that people do. And then how do we use all of that to help them create understandings about themselves, about others, and also about the world that's around them? And we get to do it through the medium of music. We talked about the cultural frame of reference piece, right? Starting with us, we've got to understand our own cultural frames of reference. We got to then understand it about our students so that we can work in partnership with them. But what does it mean to have real-world context of music making? And what does it mean to leverage those things so that they can understand themselves, others, and also the world that's around them? So for this example, I picked a song that I think some of you probably know in this audience, but you let me know. Does anybody know the piece Hot Cross Buns? Only 2 people? Okay. I hear the laughter, so I think I probably was right. So let me know, when have you used Hot Cross Buns to teach your students? Recorders. Anything else? Piano.
About routines?
To go between 2 notes physically. Another. About commercials. Keep that thought in mind. Yes.
Note length.
No length. Rhythm.
Me right now.
Me radio. The strings.
No, pastry. I would ask what their favorite pastry would be.
Oh, pastries. Keep that also in your mind. Any other things? Major versus minor. Awesome, great. So instead of thinking about the recorder, that's actually what I used to teach it for as well. How can we play B, A, and G? How can we learn about the quarter rest? That's just fixating on the notes, right? How can we use it as a vehicle?